Clink it up, boys. Clink it up to the boys right here. Yeah.
I got a slurp.
Oh, he's got a slurp. So, yeah. So,
This man slurps.
Ryan loves to slurp on camera every single time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let it all out.
Yeah. And Kevin gets a front row seat to it. So, what is your coffee of choice today, Steve?
So it's called the Long Black.
Yeah.
It is a straight black, no cream, no sugar. Just some ice cubes.
Just some ice.
Just for me.
Yeah.
I like a good tasty beverage with some sugar, just like the next guy. But there's something about just gasoline. Get a little hair lotion.
Gasoline.
No, I like it. I've always kind of been a black coffee guy. So to you for making this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Kevin, I think you got the same.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't always
It's the exact same. Look at this. Yeah, these are the same. These are the very same coffee. Totally.
made by a different guy though.
Made by different people.
guys, I'm not a freaking barista, man. I just literally poured instant coffee in this thing, and it looks botched. And I thought it was gonna look fine. It just doesn't. It's not. No,
That's
that one's
espresso. I
actually
can taste
good. Yeah, you could taste it. Mine just tastes bitter.
Actual espresso.
No, the difference is it's kind of like you have 2 shots of espresso. I think I put 3 in yours actually. So
You're wired.
yeah, you're gonna
Getting locked in.
Yeah,
You're
your
locked in. Sometimes just a nice coffee.
Your pupils are dilating right now. He's like the 4th dimension. He's like,
You're gonna start smelling colors and tasting out.
No,
he's like, guys, I'd love to tell you my life story, but can I tell you my future life story? I can see it.
My book's being written.
I'm writing it as we speak.
This straw is really like silver.
Yeah,
But I see all these different colors right now.
but yeah, and then you take the espresso and you pour it out over water, and then you throw in the ice cubes, and it makes it tall, and so that's why they call it a long black.
I love that.
So, and then this is Kevin. Please tell us the process.
Man, the process, I got a little instant coffee, poured it in, waited out.
Wow.
I wasn't done. I was literally
I'm
not
just
done.
saying, wow.
Starbucks wants to know your location.
Yeah, Starbucks wants to know what you're up to, man.
But you make a lot off that recipe.
Yeah, they can. Well, actually, no, we can't. We can't have this part. We don't want them to know that.
Yeah.
It's a secret. The secret to the all for him.
No, so I saw you put the grounds at the bottom, right?
Is that technique?
I'm trying to help you resume.
He puts grounds and then he puts a little sugar and he just starts.
No, but how long did that take you as opposed to how long it took him to make?
It took me 5 seconds.
And how long did you?
Probably about 2 minutes.
Now imagine the money you can make.
See,
Dude, there's so much more money.
It's about it.
So much more capital you can
if Andrew Tate is watching, time is money. So look,
You're making more money.
2 minutes.
Your time is more valuable to you than it is to him.
You know,
True.
guys, let's move on.
So
And then Caleb, what did you drink?
yeah. So guys, I've been told the age-old expression: "You want some coffee with your cream?" Because that's literally me. I put so much milk and half and whatever really unhealthy concoctions in this thing.
Yeah.
And just a dash of coffee.
Yeah, he likes to dash. And so
Do we need coasters?
Well, you know what?
Destroying your table.
Congratulations, you have upgraded to red napkin.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
yeah, no.
water circle.
Caleb really likes it when I make him a vanilla latte. But then he says,
Make it healthy.
and I say, a latte means unhealthy.
Yeah. Latte is French for unhealthy.
Yeah, that's actually what it is. Don't fact check me on that.
Okay, I was nearly about to ask this fool, bro. There's no way.
When I get coffee now, when I go, because I'm on a diet, I'll say, can you put one less pump of the vanilla sweetener? And it actually is still pretty much tastes the same.
The
but
vanilla
it's
is
just a
really strong.
Yeah, it is really strong vanilla. It's just a little less vanilla. So, and it makes me feel better about myself. I can walk out and say, wow, I'm not actually consuming 38 billion grams of sugar.
As he's just hyped out of his mind because of the espresso.
I'm hyped out of my mind regardless.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
You were the most enthusiastic person I've ever met.
That's awesome.
Remember the 4D we were talking about earlier? Caleb's just like 5D all
Yeah,
the
he's
time.
constantly 5D.
I saw every movie that was coming out in 2080. I mean,
Whoa, was it good?
Yeah, Star Wars 20 freaking sucked, bro. There's no way.
future is bleak. So speaking of movies, Steven, one thing that you do is you kind of make your life a movie almost.
This is a beautiful transition.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Honestly. So, Steven, you know,
You talk to me, Caleb.
yes. So for those who don't know, Steven is a big guy on social media, does the cool stories. He tells narratives through almost blog style. but they're almost like movies. They have acts in them. So Steven, how do you do your storytelling process through social media? What kind of got you on that? And how did you take kind of the rudimentary, just kind of set your camera up in a place and make a story out of it?
No, absolutely. I'm rewind. So I started, I think like the content journey, I was like 13. I made YouTube videos in the backyard. I had the camcorder. We used Nerf guns, nice. The whole thing. And then college still kept kind of just content at Liberty at entering school.
Yeah.
But I think I found my biggest creative like tension was feeling like if the video wasn't exciting enough, or if I wasn't doing something crazy, or I wasn't, there wasn't a massive accomplishment happening, it wasn't like worth recording.
Right.
And then I had so many stories that I wanted to tell, but I couldn't because I felt like it wasn't exciting enough. So that goal was, okay, like what can I do within my apartment with my wife, with my dog, to tell stories that I want to tell, and just propped it up in each room, just let it follow me, and then getting back to the computer, typing out the narrative around what was happening, and just keeping it simple was kind of how I did it.
Did you find joy almost in documenting, because you said, there's obviously really exciting stuff that happens in our lives every day, but there's also a lot of mundane stuff, and you don't always see the mundane. Do you find joy in documenting the mundane, the more subtle moments of your day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bro, I thought he was about to say, okay, what are you talking about? I don't know how to say mundane parts.
Yeah.
My life is a movie.
No, I was about to say.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
you
Say it. You got it.
Yeah.
Life is a highway.
Reference
I
Cars.
thought I was going to say life is a movie.
Yeah.
Bro, Cars the movie.
But I think one thing that a lot of people enjoy about your content, me especially, is it almost feels just natural and organic. It doesn't feel like you are putting on a show. It feels like you're willing to show whatever people don't necessarily want to see, but they actually get a chance to see. So when you're in this whole process of storytelling and all that, do you ever get to a point where you're just thinking, what should I actually post this, or should I spice this up a little bit? How do you kind of navigate those moments?
And with that in the back.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think there's definitely there's an element to where I have to think about it first. It's like, okay, is this something that should be told?
Yeah.
Especially with the, honoring Christ in the videos. Like sometimes, like if I'm trying to be introspective, there's like a sense of like morbid introspection. It's like, okay, I don't necessarily need to go this deep right now. Is this like honoring me, or is this honoring the Lord?
Yeah.
So I always like try to think about it. I run it through my wife before I put any video out. It's like, okay, like, is this all about me?
Control?
Yeah, it's like, is this all about me? Is this too? Because when you get into, because I make these fitness and faith related videos, and I don't ever want to be like a contradiction. It's like, okay, I need to make sure this is what I'm saying is biblical. I need to make sure what I'm saying is truthful and honest before I put anything out. So that's how it kind of filters with damage control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Happy wife, happy life.
Indeed, yeah, no, that's a good benchmark.
Yeah, she's a weapon. But like the storytelling kind of took off when I did bodybuilding shows, because every morning I was waking up, I was going to the Stairmaster where I called you on FaceTime,
Yes.
and I would do my 45 minutes. Then I would come home and have the same breakfast, because all my meals were laid out for me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't sway from that at all. Then I would go to work, and then I would come home, and then I did more cardio. Then we did the gym, and then exactly, and then went to bed. So it was like there wasn't really any faking that routine. I didn't have time to not record that. It's like, okay, I want to tell stories, but my days are packed. So let's just take the tripod. I'm going to record myself doing the stairs.
Right.
It's like, okay, kind of boring, but we'll see what we can spin out of it. So every day for, I guess, like 112 days of this bodybuilding prep, it was like, great, the day looks exactly the same. Like, how can we make a story? Like, did I miss my meal number 2? Like, how can I string that together with work? Or like, oh, this and this and this. And like how I'm approaching each day was like a new opportunity to learn how to tell a different story about each day.
Yeah.
Kind of flowed into recording the mundane, I guess.
So you did StratCom at Liberty. And obviously you had a lot of training from, making YouTube videos in your backyard and stuff. What inspires you creatively, honestly? How do you, how do you get inspired every day to keep chasing and telling these stories?
I wouldn't say like every day I'm super duper inspired. No. I think at first there's like, that's a really good question. I'm sure that's helping me relearn it. I think at the beginning it was like, this is exciting. I want to see if I can like tell as many stories as possible, and let's see if I can grow in my storytelling abilities through like practicing. And I've always, like, since I was little, like, watched YouTube videos, and I always wanted to be like a YouTuber.
Yeah,
and it was like,
and I think every kid,
and it was like
20 did.
Yeah, so I think some of that early inspiration was definitely selfish, because it's like, I want to be a YouTuber. Like, I want to make content and people to follow me.
I want the diamond plate.
Exactly. Like, I wanted to have followers, because that was like cool. Like, okay, let me, because I studied stratcom, so it almost felt like if I don't, it's like, well, I'm good at this. I want to prove to people I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And the beginning was kind of like that. Okay, let's see if we can make it happen. And then it started rolling. And then once I carved out the niche of what like I knew people wanted to see, which so happened to be exactly what I wanted to talk about, it became a lot easier to like show up every day. Because like, okay, what is like God teaching me? What am I actually learning? And I think once I was super vulnerable, like we talked about the porn addiction, or with like lust in the gym, or like all these things that men my age go through, I was able to put that out. So then it's like, I have nothing left to hide. There's not really a story that I can't tell, because I'm out there. Like, everyone knows all of my baggage. Yeah, it's like, sweet. Like, I can talk about something super like surface, or I can go deep again. And I think like every day, it's like, what am I actually going through? I've been married for a year. Like, what can I talk about with what's going on with that? I have a somewhat of a small social media now. Like, I can get to my head. Like, how can I dissect why that's getting to my head, and how can I reframe it and bring it to the Lord? It's like, sweet. That's a sweet video script. It's like, okay, now I need some footage to go with it. Well, I'm waking up to have breakfast. Sweet. I'll prop my camera up, and then I'll have breakfast with my wife. And it's hard to fake it when that's literally my life. It's like, okay, breakfast, I'm going to my job. And it turns out that everyone that follows me also has that same, whether they have a wife or not, but they're still waking up. Yeah. They're still going to work. So it almost makes the storytelling easier, because it's like, sweet, this is exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there takes a little bit of like, the world of like attention. I have to keep people's attention through the videos. Yeah. You have to formulate a little bit strategically, but it's also like, here's Betsy. And my following now already knows kind of the world around me. It's like, oh, there's Chester. There's your dog. How's Chester doing? So if you create that like environment where everyone knows what's happening. This is your wife. This is your dog. You go to your job. You go to the gym. You can kind of pick right back up where you left off. Yeah. So it's like every day, it's like, okay, Lord, like, what are you talking? Like, what am I learning? What am I reading in the Bible? That's really good. Let me spin that in a way that's related to fitness or faith, because that's literally what I am. Yeah. So the second I realize, like, okay, I don't have to fake it, because I am this niche, because every guy in their 20s that wants to work out wants to know how to get big. I want to get bigger. Like, everyone wants to know what to eat. I want to know how to eat better. Everyone wants to grow in their faith. So do I. So here's what I'm learning about it.
Man, that's so sick. It's like kind of when people see your content, it's more or less they don't find stability, or they don't have like that stability that you have in your life. They kind of see, oh, there's this guy that posts fitness videos that I feel like in my mind, he goes to the gym practically every day. He reads the Bible practically every day. We obviously have like mishaps sometimes that we don't read the Bible one day, we don't go to the gym one day. But maybe when they see it, it's like, hey, this guy has it all together. I want to aspire to be kind of like that in my faith journey, which is cool. I got super inspired, just like, not to glaze, but literally like your fitness journey inspired me to be like on a diet and be super into making sure I'm like accumulated at the gym. But then when you integrated the faith journey, it made me think, if I'm going to the gym, I need to make sure that my heart is in the place where it's not, I want my body to look sick. I want to make sure that every single time I go, I'm like, hey, I'm going to pray to the Lord. Lord, may this workout glorify you. If I see somebody and I want to have a talk, like I saw in one of your videos that was like, you just talked to somebody there about Jesus. I think it was like an older man, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Dude, that's literally why people love watching your content. Like, I am a fan. So I just thought I would say that. But man, I think people just love that stability at the end of the day. They see a guy doing it and they're like, man, maybe I could do that. But then they don't record it. Yeah. They just leave that to you, because you kind of make it really good. So.
And I really appreciate how you say, this is what I'm learning about this, and not, I know this and I'm going to tell you, because a lot of people would just, they would take the opportunity just to like sit up high and treat everybody else like, I'm going to teach you this. But no, you're saying, no, I'm on this journey too. And so this is what I've, learned, and maybe it can help you out. I think that's really good. Thank you.
One thing that I struggle with a lot is video in a lot of ways is my life, and I want to document so many things when I'm with people. I try to take pictures. It's just my life is kind of, I'm trying to do all these things. So, but as someone who literally films everything, how do you just sometimes put down the camera and say, you know what, I'm not going to film this. I'm just going to live in the moment.
Yeah,
That's a good.
no, it's a huge question. I think definitely was hard at first because, like I said, when I was doing those bodybuilding preps, it was like every single day. I wanted to document everything. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to tell the story because if I felt like I didn't have enough footage, it's like, oh well, I'm gonna run out of time. I got to keep it between a minute and a minute 30. No, and it's like at first it was a lot of crash coursing in terms of what people want to see, what I actually recording. Like, okay, because when you do these day in the lives, which I started off with, it was like, okay, I'm gonna watch a movie with my wife. So it's like, let me pause this movie. I gotta set the camera. And it was just tedious, but thankfully my wife is like the best. And
Betsy's a very patient.
she's like, yeah, go She just doesn't care. She's like, okay, whatever. And she gets it now. Like, I think at first I hope she was hesitant, but now she sees like people actually like watching.
Right.
She understands doing thing.
Yeah.
No, I think it just depends on the content because now I do more of kind of like drawn out. Yeah, they're kind of like video essays of like a theme.
Yeah.
So I can kind of pick and choose, and now I have so much footage saved up that I can kind of like go back in the orange hard drive and like, okay, video of me with Betsy on the couch watching a movie. It's like, very sweet. And that's created a little bit more of boundaries because like I don't have to record that. I've already got it.
Right.
But man, I don't know. Like the sweet spot is knowing like get the shot, but like it's probably not gonna be perfect. But know like I guess I have assurance because like okay, once I get back and do this voiceover, if the shot's not great and it doesn't tell a really good story, I'm gonna tell a story over it.
Right.
And the more it actually looks like I was trying to be present and get a quick shot, the more I feel like okay, we forgive him. It's not a beautiful shot. But like the sweet spot is, I take my camera if I know it's gonna be like my wife and I went to like a sunrise trip to the beach. It's like, yeah, that's gonna be sweet content. But I obviously want to be present. So
Right.
like, I just but it was like, all right, pop out the tripod, get it quick, like 10 seconds, and I'm putting it away, and I'm not gonna look at it, I'm not gonna think about it or talk about it anymore. I'm just gonna be present. So and that's something I'm still learning is like, okay, what does that look like? How can I be someone that documents marriage and how that's going without completely documenting every bit of my marriage?
Right.
So it's like still kind of like a process, but I'll take it, I'll prop it up, and then it's like, all right, sweet, got the shot, and I'll just put it away and forget about it.
Yeah.
So getting quick, get out fast is kind of your philosophy about that.
Pretty much.
And I found, honestly, more so because I don't necessarily do this. I literally had like an anxiety attack the other day. I tried to put my iPhone to record a video of me like cooking the other day or making like this Energizer shot when I was like by myself. And then I literally had an anxiety attack thinking, man, I have to talk to the camera. This is so freaking weird. And I bet you had something like that in the beginning, no? That it was like, man, I'm propping up the camera. I just have to be myself, huh?
Yeah.
But it's gotten so like easy for you. I bet people out there could relate that it's hard to start, but now you're in a spot where it's easy, but also you don't make it like the priority all the time. It's like, hey, I'm with my wife. I'm gonna make my content priority based off of a conversation that we have. No, you're thinking I want to live in the moment, but if I can capture it quick, and then honestly, I've noticed also like if it looks a little bit more botched, maybe people relate to it more because if it looks too professional, they're like, this guy did that on purpose.
That's my issue, guys.
No,
nobody likes my content. It's too professional. I hate it.
Like I like 100% understand. I think especially with like an FX3, I think you have to keep that in mind when you're creating stuff. For me, especially, it's like, okay, we know this moment wasn't as as genuine as you're making it look like, because obviously you're filming like 4K.
Yeah.
Then you've set it up and it's like colored well.
And the light coming in the perfect way.
Right. And I think,
And Steven went outside. He set up his aperture. She's like, okay, hold on, honey. I know we were talking about something. Give me a second. Oh,
Betsy, I know we are in the middle of dinner, but I need to set up this 1200D out the window really quick.
yeah, we got to get that really good moonlight. Okay, just bear with you.
and it's interesting because I would have thought too, like, because I flip-flopped between iPhone stuff because like the marketer in me is like, okay, iPhone looks more realistic. And everyone, when I would watch the gurus talk about it, they're like, it has to look like you're a real person. It has to be personable. People can tell when it's iPhone. I was like, well, that looks terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know what's learning on iPhone.
Yeah.
And I think, shut on it. Yeah. And it was like, and honestly, like my videos never performed well from the iPhone. But then I was like, great, I love cinematography and I love seeing like this shot come to fruition. And it inspires me afterwards when I get that shot and I look at it, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like that inspires me to actually make the video.
Right.
Like it was on the phone. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll keep that in the bank. But it's like, wow, that's a beautiful shot of me and Betsy making dinner. Yeah. Like, it's wonderful. I'm definitely going to have to put that somewhere. Yeah. So I think that helps with consistency too, because I'm like inspired as it's happening. Yep. But no, I think with the voiceovers that are a little bit more vulnerable, I think it kind of juxtaposes well because people are like, okay, this is the FX3, but he's talking about his porn addiction. So it's like, I guess we believe him. Yeah. We balance it out.
What's your
guess it's been for real.
What's your favorite shot you got? And I'll tell you, I think my favorite shot maybe ever that I've seen from you, because it was just what?
Great question.
Yeah. I mean, I think my favorite shot was your proposal shot where you were on the bridge. That I literally remember watching that and just thinking, dang, bro kind of made a movie with this. Yeah. I mean, I that's probably my favorite shot I've ever seen you do. But what would your favorite shot be? What's your favorite thing you've got? Don't feel like you have to say something with Betsy. And
no,
I'm sure she'll forgive you.
Favorite shot. Every shot with Betsy. Now, every time my wife's in the camera,
that's my favorite. If she's not in it, I hate it.
Doesn't matter if she's totally out of focus, all dark, I can't barely see her. She's there. Favorite shot.
Man, that's a great question. I think, like in a cinematography wise, I don't know, but I think my favorite shots. I'm trying to make this not sound cliche. My favorite shots are like when you're talking about that with my friend in the gym, the older guy. Like he's a spiritual mentor in my life. Oh wow! So it's like, man, I got a shot, and he doesn't care about the camera. So I think the best shots are the one where I was able to capture. Like I lived out the moment. Like he and I talked about kind of like what videos I was making, and I was like, hey, like I'm struggling with kind of adapting to this attention. Like how can I continue to be humble and like we had this really good conversation. I was like, hey, do you mind if I like prop this up because I want to talk about this later? Yeah, sure. So I went over, put it back up, and then kind of like made a joke, and it looked because obviously we already lived the moment. So I think my favorite shot is probably like the one that was like either with him or it was able to recreate a moment that I had close enough to what actually the moment was, so that I was able to go back and like retell that story. Yeah, probably a shot with like my spiritual mentor in the gym, or I don't know. There's so many of them.
You shot so many things over the years. So
the beach shot, me and Betsy for sunrise. There's like a bird came by.
Yes, yeah, that was awesome.
I don't know. That's a good question. I forget that I'm in the room with minds of camera guys. Yeah, so I needed to put on a different.
Yeah, poor judge, and you sign.
Now when you went 23.79 frames per second. Did you realize the shutter was on 60 when you did that?
Yeah, and we could see it was kind of
there was a little too much.
What was your white balance? Tell us what was
that in camera? Did you use a lot on top?
Yeah, was that a lot?
Did you bake that in?
Was that DaVinci or Premiere?
No, I on the FX3 having to have that like LUT overlay while you're shooting is my life. Yeah, I love being able to look at it without.
Bro, you're just trying to get me to shell out $3,000 for FX3.
Get that camera.
When's your LUT pack?
Right.
Bro, you should make a LUT pack. Steve, LUT pack. I would call it. We'll call one Betsy Blue.
Betsy Blue.
Chester Cool.
Write this down. Steven.
This is opportunity.
Wait, hold on. If you did like a neutral, you could do Steven Silver.
Steven Silver.
That's just a neutral.
Do you know who Matty Pajo is?
Matty Apoya. Matty Apoya. I love Matty Apoya.
Matty Apoya.
If you're watching this, I apologize.
Hi, Matty Apoya. How you doing?
I have his conversion.
Oh, this
Sony conversion lens and this Sony.
Steel and orange. Matty Apoya.
I use his like his Matty special.
Yeah, Matty special.
Go to saturation.
Yeah, I love that one.
And then his LUTs are a little bit. His look LUTs are a little too much sometimes. Yeah. So I like.
You tone down the intensity slightly
too. Yeah. But usually, and that's what's sweet because like the lifestyle stuff, there's not a lot of pressure because I don't think people look at me like, man, how are you gonna take this shot? It's just like it's in his kitchen, like, and that frees me up because we were talking about like creative tension. Like, part of me is like, oh, like I got like this shot's not really lit well. Yeah, I need to, but just being like, yep.
That's my problem.
Yeah, I cause a lot of tension. Like creatively, you're like, well, I can't record this because I need to set my lights up.
Yep.
And once I recreate it, it's weird because now we're in front of the camera and
Yeah, there's all these lights, and it's just act natural, and then you're not natural.
But yeah, it's not a natural setting, and
people can smell that.
No, yeah, they won't relate. They'll be like, man, this guy literally propped it up and just made sure it looked amazing.
Dang, this guy has a film crew. outside.
camera's just directly in front of you. It's like, all right, Betsy, act natural while this camera's
Betsy,
staring
go
at
ahead.
you.
She's just cooking, but she's stirring. She's just with a pot. And you have Chester propped up. He's holding Chester.
Well, and I think that's like half the battle is like I mean, I'm sure you guys are cool with like each other recording, but like Betsy's I've been trying to make YouTube videos and content since we like first started dating, and she's like been weathered through it. She's like record it, that'd be awesome. Like no, and like when I was like first doing it, I was like, I don't know, is this funny? And she's like, I think it's funny. Go do it again. Whoa. Like she's been like at every step. So now she's just like, don't ask me, it looked fine. Like
This is every camera guy.
yeah, and she's like we'll be in the kitchen. She's like, do you want to get your camera? I'm like, can I? She's like, yeah, fine. Whatever.
That's amazing. I love that.
And I think she knows like at first, like I said, she's probably hesitant, but now she realizes like there's a little bit of like there's people watching. Like there's young guys that want to see what a Christ-centered marriage looks like. So I think it might be kind of awkward to like record us watching a movie, but like sure. And I think we're now so accustomed to the camera being on that we can like prop it up and it's cool. And I take it down to the exact same people usually.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, Betsy, get closer to me. We gotta pretend like you like me.
Yeah. Just get down.
You're ruining the shot.
Ruining the shot. Get him out of here.
Just open the window. Go down there for a split second. So
Cuts for continuity.
You weren't in the last shot, Chester.
Chester, you're a bad dog. Ruined my continuity. No, so one thing that I know about you is you're really kind of all over the place type of guy. You know, you kind of have all these ideas. Your brain's just all over the place. Has recording these videos kind of given you a little bit of structure to your life almost, where you kind of say, okay, I have this thing that I know I don't have to do, but there's this thing that I want to do, and I have this order that I should do it. And that gives me my mind a second just to focus on one thing rather than being all over the place and spontaneous and all that. Does that kind of help you out?
Yeah, another excellent question.
Thank you.
These are good.
That's a good question.
No, I think when I'm less, I think spontaneous now and sporadic.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was really sporadic, I was trying to think of like a next big thing.
Yeah.
And like, because I think it was about getting attention. I think I was like, oh, let me, I mean, the clothing brand is still going, but like, let me start a clothing brand so people can wear a shirt that they can say I made it and they'd be cool. And then it was like, all right, let me start a YouTube channel for whatever reason, just because I want people to know my name and listen to me talk.
Yeah.
But I think after kind of diving into this niche and kind of letting the Lord lead this path of like, faith and fitness, I think I've actually centered more on, okay, I know what I need to do. And now everything that was making me sporadic is very focused. Like, obviously this is where God wants me to be. There's no, like as much as I try to get out of it or try to get more into it, I'm always right here.
Right.
And he obviously wants me to speak to this younger generation of gym guys or new Christians or newlywed people about the everyday struggles of a Christian. So it's like, it's easy for me to really stay on path. So less sporadic now, but more focused.
Yes. I was going to say, I will say, I do feel like you are a little less sporadic now. You are a little more focused and structured, but I think
that means more coming from you.
No, thank you.
You are Mr. Plan.
I am. Although, but it's funny because I've become a little more sporadic. Yeah, I still am very structured and I schedule stuff and I think things through, but because my friends around me have kind of forced me almost to become a little more spontaneous. I've had some of the guys.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good.
Get the coffee order switched up.
Yeah,
but that's the next stop.
Iced vanilla latte with 3 pumps of vanilla.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's a crazy man.
Yeah, you said chill out.
Whoa, Caleb, we're going a bit far here.
But my friends have made me a little more spontaneous, and the things that I've had probably the most fun with have been the things I didn't expect. The best things that have come to me have been the things I didn't expect, and the spontaneous moments have been probably my favorite moments of my life. So it's kind of been a good shift for me to become more spontaneous and less structured all the time, rudimentary, military.
I mean, you had to make a reservation with them for like 5 weeks in advance.
Mental space.
Yeah, just to rent it out a little bit.
Yeah.
If you wanted to have a 10-minute conversation in the evening.
Yeah.
Now you only have to wait 2 weeks.
I'm growing.
Hey,
Bro,
look at you hosting a podcast.
I know.
He's double checking the Google Calendar right
Yeah, he's
He's like, was it actually supposed to be?
Yeah, what do I have?
Did we actually make
supposed to be doing something else right now? No. So
I think it's really cool that you do.
yeah. No, thank you. So we talked a little bit about vulnerability earlier. You've posted a lot about this on your social media. I think this is a topic that really needs to be discussed a lot because I feel like a lot of guys struggle with it and they can't talk about it because they feel too afraid. They feel like people will judge them. And coming from someone like you, it would be really good for people to hear. So you obviously had a really bad porn addiction for a long time. You dealt with, in my opinion, pornography is the worst industry in the whole world. I want it to freaking be destroyed, but unfortunately, as long as there's sin in the world, pornography is going to exist. So people like you can at least provide some insight on how to get out of it and how to free yourself from those chains. So can you talk a little bit about your pornography addiction and how the Lord freed you from it?
Absolutely. I think it started, I was probably like 11 or 12, and it was like a shame thing. Obviously, you did it in private.
Yeah.
No one knew about it, and it was just like all the way up through high school, college. And I think at the same time, that like sin, and I don't know how it happened, but I think I had like a certain type of OCD. It's called like pure OCD. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's basically like I wish I could describe it better. But it's like an obsession over thoughts consistently being like pure, like they need to be structured. They can't be like sinful, or you try to track them back to where they came from, and you want to know why you thought that thought, and it's just like a spiral.
Yeah.
If you've ever heard of it.
I think I kind of struggle with that sometimes. If it's not exactly pure, then I'm sinning or I'm doing that. Yes, I know exactly
And
what
I
you're
think
talking about.
that there's like it's called like scriptura or something. It can come from like religious backgrounds because you're trying to stay to this high standard.
Right.
And then sin can mess that up. But going into college, I think it was like freshman year, I was still watching porn. It was still kind of like an escape. And I was filling my life up with, girls, attention, partying, like anything that wasn't the Lord. And it was giving me these really momentary flings of pride and identity.
Yeah. Almost euphoria.
Exactly. And I think
little escape.
yeah, those OCD thoughts mixed with porn and mixed with the addiction, to where I had a moment where like all of them kind of came, and I felt so much guilt that I had this big panic attack when I was a sophomore. And life afterwards, from what I blame myself for what I had seen, because like there's this crazy stuff on porn websites.
Yeah.
And those thoughts had kind of like festered in my mind. So where if I went out in public and I saw someone, it'd like almost replay exactly what I saw and like replay these videos and like make me feel like, wow, why am I like I must really like this, or this is me. This is who I am now. I'm someone that thinks about this.
Right.
Then that OCD kind of developed into like any thought. I was like, man, why did I think that about that person? Like, am I like that? Is that really who I am? And then I would spend probably like the next day sitting in my room, like trying to like convincing myself out of that quick thought I had that like messed up my whole day.
Yeah.
So when I met Betsy, and this is funny because you can like kind of go back through my life or like my Instagram. I like bleached my hair.
Yeah.
I
remember
was
that.
really depressed looking, but I was like, man, what can I do to almost not talk about myself? Like, let me get huge. Like, let me get really muscular. Let me flirt with every woman that I can and make it very brief so that she never really gets to know me, or my relationships with other guys like started failing because I was just like so surface level. Like at Liberty, you had community groups. It was like I sat there, like didn't say anything because I didn't want a conversation to be like, so like who's struggling? Because it was like I'd pushed it so far back.
Wow.
And I would almost have like nightmares because it was so compressed. I just pushed it.
Yeah.
And then so the OCD obviously was a huge component because it was like, oh, you really are this bad. You think these things. This is who you are. And when I met Betsy, and she was like really strong believer, and she was a huge part of my testimony because she was just like an example of grace for me. But we were sitting in the back of our car. We just finished kissing, unfortunately. But I looked at her, I was like, hey, before like we start dating, like I need to tell you about this before like, and you can like leave and like, but please, like I just need to tell you, because I had never told anyone about kind of like the identity and associated with these thoughts and all this porn and all these images that I kept thinking about. And I told her, and she was like, okay, like, and I was like, well, I don't like watch anymore and everything's fine, but I still think these things. And she was pretty much like that's not who you are. like everything's fine. Like you are forgiven. Like this is not your identity. This is just fear. And this is just the devil trying to convince you every day. Cause since that moment of that panic attack, I hadn't watched porn again. Like praise God.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I don't want to feel that again.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay, well, like, do you enjoy having these thoughts? Like, no, like I want to get them out. She's like, well, then that's not really who you are. And I just like the first time I like cried in like 4 years. And I was like, really? Like, you think this is fine? She's like, yeah, just like don't watch porn again and tell someone about it.
Yeah.
Oh, like, okay. And then after that moment, I felt so much freedom getting that sin out and be like, hey, this is what happened to me. I was super depressed. I was super anxious. But now that you said, like, I just vocalize it to you, I want to go tell everybody. Like, I want to tell every guy that I meet, like, hey, I was addicted to porn and I had OCD and it made me feel like I enjoyed all these different things and all these weird things that Pornhub can put up.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I want to tell you this because I don't struggle with it anymore and like help me not go back to that. And it was almost freeing because I felt like for the first time, all these guys from my past or like friends actually knew. Like, oh wow, like that's sweet. Like, thanks for telling me. Like, I also struggle with that. And I was like, no way. That's sweet that we're all fighting this together. And it was just the catalyst of being honest and being vulnerable, like helps me develop those real relationships. And I felt like the devil did such a good job isolating me for like 2.5 years because I was like, well, I can't tell anyone about that. They're going to think I'm like crazy and they're going to think I'm like addicted to this. And it's
Yeah.
But so that's where vulnerability creates community came from because literally I went back to my hometown like that summer and I pulled all my guy friends from like my past. I was like, hey, I want to tell you this. Just because I want to.
Yeah.
And like, dude, like we struggle with that too. Thanks for saying that. And then there's like these honest conversations happen and the Lord was just like moving in our lives because it broke that stigma of like, everyone's done it. Everyone's not proud of it. And everyone's like, if they're trying to pursue the Lord, they're trying to fight it. And I even think people that aren't pursuing the Lord also don't want that either. So it's like every guy our age can relate to it in some way. So I was like, I'm going to tell everybody and we're going to have such a cool bond about it. And what else can we tackle together once we destroy this?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, the Lord, you are a living example of the freedom that the Lord can bring from this horrible addiction. And yeah, I mean, I know a lot of guys would, I mean, hearing this, they would go, wow, maybe I can be free of something like that. And it's especially so cool how at the time you weren't even dating Betsy when you told her, right? Which is good. You kind of talked to her up front about that. You weren't even dating and she still loved or liked you for who you were in that moment. And now you're married. And she almost was, I guess she was almost a catalyst of helping bring you out of that almost through God, of course. God brought her into your life and she helped bring you out of that with her just genuine support of you and her reaction. You know, she didn't react to, oh my gosh, you're a horrible person. I could literally, when you said that, I could literally hear her saying it in her voice and everything because that's just all right. Well, just don't do it again. I mean, what are you doing?
And I hope like, and I don't want there to be any like misconception of like, I do not struggle with these things anymore. It's like, it's evident all the time. Like praise the Lord that I don't really go back to those websites because it's like, I'm just like, I just want to just ruin my life.
Right.
But now there's new things like social media, like, especially in the fitness world, like, like fitness influencers, it's like just as close as you can get sometimes.
It's soft core. It's soft core
and
porn.
the algorithm just promotes it. Everybody like my feed is supposed to be more camera stuff because that's what I watch. But sometimes they'll just pull up the craziest things, and I'm like, why is that on my feed? I don't look at that.
I don't want that.
I don't want that. Why? And every time it comes up, I put not interested. But it still comes up. And so it's like these algorithms, they set people up to fail, which I think it's even better that you're, really open about your story. Because, there's plenty of guys out there who struggle with this kind of stuff.
I think it's like a gray area because I think we have to also check ourselves as men. Because and there's a bunch of male fitness influencers that are also doing the exact same thing.
Right.
But I think it comes down to, it's like, okay, once you let, like you said, like, I'm not interested, but once you click on one that's like close.
10 more.
Right. Instagram's like, okay. And then some of us don't have the willpower to like,
just stop.
It's like, keep scrolling. And like, that's something very evident, especially like the fitness world and just normal Instagram. Someone's like, because it gets views, it gets clicks, and people that aren't pursuing the same purity don't see it.
Right. Yeah. They're just, this is getting me money and people like it. Why should I care?
So that's like something like practical ways or like it's accountability is huge. Like,
Yeah.
I think the first step is realizing like we all can fall prey to this. Like, just text your buddy, like, hey, on Instagram, saw something, it's getting to me, like,
Yep.
talk to me, like, this sort of conversation, get my mind off this. Yeah, and it's like, it's running rampant.
Yep.
And it's tough.
It is tough.
Yeah. In the community of the church, it's more than necessary now, especially the sharing part, because I feel like out of the whole thing you were mentioning, the most important part was the part that you shared with Betsy, right? I think people out there are just thinking, man, I can never share this with anybody because they'll look at me with like shame. Like they'll think, oh,
think you're a creep or something.
oh, literally. They'll just think, oh, this guy watches porn. Oh, I'm never going to be his friend.
Yeah.
It's like this hidden secret that a lot of guys go through. And when nobody talks about it, we just all go through it. And then as soon as somebody says something, we're like, oh yeah, I do that. Or I do that, etc. And then the sharing is where the relief comes in, where Christ is involved. And then now the porn addiction is not so much, I'm addicted to this thing by myself. It's like, hey guys, let's talk about it. And then how do we bear each other's cross in the process, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so important that you make these videos, because when you make the videos, it's almost like in a world full of like, let's say, quote unquote, evil videos of like very lustful women or men in the fitness community. They're like, hey, they're just posting stuff to get likes and views, right?
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to work in the algorithm somehow. You're the light, and you're thinking, oh, I'm posting this video. In the midst of like 10 videos, maybe they'll stumble on mine. And they'll be like, all right, now my life might change, or a seed might be planted. Because all it takes is a seed at the end of the day to notice, oh, okay, this guy struggles with porn. Oh, this guy has done certain things. Or even in the fitness community, we're talking about lustful stuff. It's like this guy has struggled with like body image, whatever the case may be. There is an X factor, and that's the Lord.
Yep.
And when you bring him in, everything changes. And then not only that, the Lord has provided something amazing alongside of that, freaking community.
Yeah.
And some people are just so afraid to share. But the fact that you shared and you do it so vocally, people are thinking, man, maybe I can't be Stephen Covert on Instagram, but maybe I can be first name, last name to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And so important. Like,
Yeah.
never forget that.
There's this term, I think it's a war term. It's called aggression deterrent, I believe, where, you know, certain countries have nukes. They know if they nuke one country, they're going to be nuked back. And they're just too scared to do anything about it because no one wants to do anything about it. So everybody just sits still and they just keep dealing with it. But what if in the same way, if more guys talk about it, then, you know, I'm not trying to compare what we're talking about to war, but, you know, someone...
I mean, I think it is a war for the mind.
It's a war for the mind, you know? And what if someone sent off that nuke? What if they talked about their porn addiction? Someone else feels vulnerable enough to then go back at them. And then that creates more vulnerability. And then eventually everybody is doing it at the same time, which opens up these conversations and helps more people. So
Yeah, and hopefully the outcome isn't just a bunch of guys talking about porn addiction, but
hopefully actually people
are getting better.
Yes, exactly. So you talked about vulnerability creates community, which is one of my favorite things I've heard you say it many times on videos in real life, and I think it's an incredible statement. Why don't you talk a little bit about the brand that we're all wearing? ITC, Iron Therapy Club. Yeah. We could say ITC stands for I Talk Coffee, and we could just get away with it. But why don't you talk a little bit about how this brand came to be through what you dealt with and opening yourself up and being vulnerable?
Yeah. The origin was about the vulnerability creates community. That was like, I had therapy club. I like the gym. There needs to be more people talking about what's going on in the gym. How can we leverage the gym to be a place to not only become more physically disciplined, but spiritually disciplined?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the original. But now so I had to sit back and use my branding mind. Yeah. So vulnerability creates community was a beautiful like segment, but I can't continue to build off of just that sentence. So I had therapy club's rebranding a little bit actually. So those logos are going to be old.
What? Is this a soft launch?
It's kind of a soft launch.
We're wearing artifacts. Right?
No, those are OG pieces.
Yeah, exactly. These are OG
pieces. Iron. But no, and that's like because I started Iron Therapy Club before like the Instagram following.
Yes.
Before I kind of like was able to get a pulse on what young men are dealing with and what they want answers to.
Right.
So Iron Therapy Club is still the same, but it's going to be focused on just the general message of growing in physical discipline and spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
So creating young men that are, or not creating, but encouraging men that are working out and are pursuing godliness, like kind of like the mix. Because for a long time, I, like rightfully so, was just a big douchebag in college. Like I just was jacked and loud and just said,
And ginger.
yeah,
And ginger.
very loud, very, very loud. And I loved bodybuilding. But when I came to know the Lord, obviously the question of, okay, what am I doing? Like, is this glorifying the Lord? Like,
Yeah.
everyone told me I was like a vain, narcissistic, and I was. So like that kind of carries with you. It's like, okay, well, this is my favorite hobby. Is this something I need to give away to the Lord? Is this something he wants to take? And then I met with that spiritual mentor like I was talking about. And he was a huge proponent and kind of like giving me a metaphoric hand on the shoulder. And he's like, no, like you can honor the Lord in your physical discipline. Like let your physical discipline implement like that regimen. Like let it show you what you can do when you put something to every single morning. You're going to work on your nutrition. Okay. Get in the Bible. You're going to go to the gym for an hour. Okay. Before you go, spend time in the Word. Like let that discipline work for both ways. Like honor the Lord in your physical discipline. Like become a man that can protect the house. Like become a strong guy that is confident in his faith. Build up credibility through your discipline that you're reflecting with your body. Like don't stop and look at yourself in the mirror all the time. Like don't be vain in these practical aspects, but go train and also train for godliness. Like that's one of my favorite verses is like bodily training is of some use, but train for godliness. Like make sure training for godliness is a priority. Because Paul talks about like when people trained like physically back in the day, they just like stripped naked and they went after it and they trained as hard as they could.
Yep.
So it's like, let's just apply that same, like go after it. Like work out hard, go home and pray and lead your family. Like creating people that are physically trained and spiritually trained, like encouraging them on that journey. And that's where Iron Therapy Club is going to go.
Yeah. I love that.
Discipline is a freaking amazing thing. I think, well, I was reading a book, maybe it's by James Clear. I'm not sure if that's the right author, but Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And then what you were mentioning just about discipline, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm going to be sporadic with my day, but you're kind of like protein in the morning, right?
Yeah.
2 scoops of protein,
scoops of protein
2
in the
scoops of
morning.
40 grams of oats,
Yeah.
or 60.
50.
Oh, okay, I was close.
But it was 40.
between.
I got
I
you.
bumped it up because I'm trying to get a little bigger.
There you go.
Yeah.
Big fan, obviously,
Yeah, I
right?
love it.
No, because I do 40, but I don't do the protein. I just do overnight oats. But what I was gonna say is like, something that you mentioned and I saw in one of your videos was like, oh, okay, I do the protein, I go work out, I come home, and then the first thing I'm thinking, Bible, right? And some people forget that if you were to structure your morning to be like, hey, if I already preemptively set up my breakfast, what can I do without eating breakfast?
Yeah.
Bible. And then stacking the habits and so that at the end of the day, you're not like, oh man, I forgot to read the Bible. Oh man, I forgot to train my spiritual body.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm going to literally place it in the routine of the morning.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
people, I love that now. I've been integrating that now in my mornings where it's like the day before I'm preparing like overnight oats. Going outside and breathing and then making sure that when I'm eating my oats, like you kind of, not to glaze, sorry guys, but literally like I'll be in the Bible at the same time. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm eating this awesome meal, but also my spiritual body is getting awesome freaking meal, you know? And I love that.
I love that.
It's so good. Okay, crazy.
No, and there's I love that. I started that book in a plane just because when we get on a plane, you're like,
Yeah.
I read
Life decisions.
Yeah, I think I just listened to
Life
one.
decisions happening.
Actually read it. It was Audible.
Oh, same. I can't read.
Read it.
I just can't read. I can listen though. I can't
If you
read.
use promo code COVE.
Well, you're 26. You should be able to read by now.
Use promo
Be
code.
surprised.
All for him Covert.
I can
10% off Audible.
I can barely speak English, bro.
It's not my first language even.
My first language is yapping.
Oh yeah,
Japanese. Japanese specifically.
But going over what you're saying, there's a book that I love. It's called Disciplines of a Godly Man. And it's incredible. But and on to your point about always reading, like I'm not always on it.
No.
I definitely mess up and I'll push it back and then push it back and then I'll miss a day.
Yeah.
I want you to think that I'm like on it every single
But that's what I was saying.
that.
No, you're good. That's why I'm saying, like, when I see the videos, it gives off the image that you do it every day, and it inspires people to try and do it every day. So,
Yeah.
no harm,
It's
no
still
foul.
helping,
Definitely.
even if you're not. We know you're not perfect.
No, I know.
Whoa, Steve, it's not perfect.
And like, but like when you said, when you create that routine, it's like, okay, like if you can't, like if you're running out of time, get in the word first. Like,
Right.
Don't work out first. But obviously it's whatever your day, like try to get it in when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like to do it in the morning because it sets the day up. But in the book, he compares, because I love it because I'm bodybuilding, but he compares it to like training for godliness. And he says like, we all are born with the same spiritual genetics. And it's beautiful because he compares physical genetics to spiritual genetics. And when you're a bodybuilder or you're training, you might always be behind somebody who has better physical genetics. Like I have some huge triceps just genetically and might not be able to catch them. And it's like, oh, that stinks, but I'm going to work hard and do what I can. But when you're in the Christian walk, like you got the same spiritual genetics, like you can be as disciplined as like your pastor. You can be as knowledgeable, but he is there because he is disciplined.
Yeah.
Like he is where he is. He is as knowledgeable as he is and as spiritual mature as he is because he makes it a priority. Yeah. So let's make it a priority. So that was like a beautiful, like training for godliness, physical training. So that's why it's such a cool contrast.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it's so good to be able to balance those two things and to be able to live your life for God and also for helping the people around you too. Because if you build yourself and you make yourself a better person, you're helping the people around you and you're glorifying the Lord.
Yeah.
I guess I want to leave you with this. What do you come to the end of your life? You're going to heaven, obviously. We're all going to heaven. Coming to the end of your life, what do you want to be remembered for? And what do you want to accomplish the most in your, hopefully, another, 60 plus years here on this earth?
Yeah. Another good question.
Thank you.
I think
Full of them.
First, just saying, I did a good question.
firing away. Excellent question. I think I want to be known. Obviously, being able to talk about what the Lord is doing in my life on social media is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I have great confidence when I do it. And I talk very articulately behind a microphone. But I want to look back and say that I was able to do that like locally, like at my local church or like my neighbor.
Yeah.
Like if I can knock on the apartment door next to me and have that same confidence, like talk to them about what the Lord is doing in my life. And like maybe like even just like 10 or 15 people locally in Chester, Virginia, where I live, like being able to impact them for Christ would probably be, and be a good husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And lead my wife well would be what I would want to look back on.
Yes.
And be an amazing father one day.
Bro.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh,
Honestly,
you will be, dude. Yeah, you've got the discipline for it, man.
I can't wait.
And the macho-ness.
I can't wait for you to be a dad. You're going to...
Content's gonna be crazy.
I was just...
Yo,
All right, child, dance. Now.
Just you wait. Chester had a short running, and now it's your time to shine.
Such a baby in the show.
Yeah, nice. The numbers, I see them booming already.
When a baby comes in, it's like, the dad diaries. Are you kidding?
Yo, he's already prepared.
He's already for vision board. Yeah.
It's going to be Mr. Incredible.
So
He's got the 5-year plan.
The 5-year plan for excellence.
YouTube series is gonna be crazy with
Dude, imagine the numbers.
can't even
the numbers. Yeah. So is there anything you would like to say to your wife, Betsy, on this podcast? It literally can be a shout out or it can be just whatever comes to your mind about her.
I don't think she'll watch it,
Okay.
but I'll show her this clip.
That's fine.
All right.
She'll probably watch it.
Dang, Betsy.
She's just
Yeah, unlucky guys.
No, listen, that's hurtful.
she lives like every one of my little videos. She's like, oh, that's cool. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Man, what would I say to Betsy? Let's have some babies soon.
Wow. We need the money.
Yeah. We need the views.
Need the views.
When the views are low, baby.
Betsy, imagine the potential.
But thank you, boys, for having me here.
Oh,
Yes.
dude, it's a
Yes.
freaking
This is an honor.
pleasure.
No,
Man.
I think one of the things that I love about you, because genuinely, you're a brother in Christ, and I love you as a friend. I love you as a brother in Christ. I love what you stand for, but I think the biggest thing I love about you is that you are you. You are you. And no matter what that is, whether it's the good or the bad, there's not a lot of bad, but whether it's the good or the bad, you are yourself and you're open about that. And I think if we had more people like that, maybe the world would be a lot better of a place. It's a good place, but yeah, I think everybody was like you, more like you, open, honest, and just willing to talk stuff out. I think we'd have a lot less division. So yeah, so I really appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. Thank you for this excellent conversation. We have yapped for quite a bit. Good handshakes, good strong handshakes
You
here.
just couldn't like hop in a lot. I was taking.
No, we were listening. No, you were crushing it, bro. Do we have any more coffee? Do we have anything we can clink here to kind of close this out? All right. Hey, boys, wait. Before we do it, to good conversations, to being men of God, and to living a life that we want to live for the Lord and the people that we love. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Wow.